You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Meet the new Kamala. She's compassionate, likable, brilliant, black, fashionable, black, creative, not an Indian, and black. Prepare to be amazed by the new, more intelligent, more likable, even blacker Kamala Harris, the new presidential candidate we chose for you.
Wow. Wow.
There we have it.
I don't know if she's Indian or black, but welcome to the show. Subscribe, comment down below. Tell us what you think about anything. We don't care. Welcome to Freeform Friday on Tuesday.
Welcome to the news. And
welcome to the news. There's too much news to fit into one Freeform Friday. Hunley and I are going to do it on Tuesday, alternate Tuesdays anyway.
And even now, we have too much news for today.
We have too much news to fit in. It's all the news that can't fit. You know, it's funny because I was shocked to learn that her mother was Hindu, and her father was kind of a Marxist atheist, yet she claims to be a Black Baptist, Eric.
She had a care of a neighbor when she was a kid in Oakland, supposedly, that had taken her under her wing and
she left at 6. Again, nice try, Hunley. Not you, but I'm saying nice try by whoever. She moved to Montreal when she was 6 years old. The divorce happens at 6. When did she become a Black Southern Baptist? That's my question for the audience, because I think she's a Hindu, and it has the echoes of Obama hiding his birth certificate, not because of geography. What I said back in the day was it had the religion of his father, which is what birth certificates have in the Muslim religion, and it said Muslim. That was the cover-up, not that he was born in Indonesia or on an island off the coast of Zambia. The fact of the matter is she has very similar baggage. If she's a Hindu, she's going to be the first Hindu candidate for president of the United States, and if she wins, she'll be the first Hindu president, whatever that means to you. But don't run around like Obama did, going to Reverend, what's his name, the radical Black Reverend
Jeremy Wright.
What's his name?
Wright, Jeremy Wright.
Yeah, Reverend Wright. And she doesn't even do that because.
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm saying she's not even doing that. She's just absorbing the Black culture, and all of a sudden she says she was in a choir as a kid somewhere in a Black church. It's a crock of shit. All of it's a crock of shit. French fries at McDonald's is a crock of shit. This woman enveloped and embraced, and there's nothing wrong with it, her Hindu Indian culture. She wrote about it extensively. She went back to India every summer or winter, whenever the hell they went. She was raised in Canada, a foreign country to the north. I mean, it's very similar to Obama going to the madrasas in Indonesia and having his stepfather there, being involved with political stuff in Indonesia and being raised as a Muslim. You know, if you're going to hide that's what I believed happened with the birth certificate, just my opinion of Obama, that it was not about another country. It was about the religion on the certificate. So we got a copy of it. But I don't know if Eric, and use your imagination, if Trump had been killed, we would have had Nikki Haley versus Kamala Harris, two Hindu candidates running against each other. And I don't even know what the fuck that means. I'm just saying that's what would have been the matchup. As crazy as that sounds, in a predominantly Christian country, we would have had two Hindu Indian women running against one another,
like they just had in England before the German took over. Like they have running freaking Microsoft, like they have running Alphabet, like they have. I mean, I think it was the Indian Prime Minister himself when he gave pushback because people were saying Jews rule the world. He said, well, really, if you break things down, he said, I think Indians might be running the world. And he's the one who pointed all this out. And it was shocking. And by the way, she was actually named after an Indian god.
Yes.
Kamala Tamika or whatever.
Yes. I mean, she is running away from this Indian heritage because they have no voting base. There's no reason for her to be Indian. There's no reason for her to embrace the Indian culture any longer. I don't know if Nikki Haley did the same thing. I don't know how Nikki Haley ended up in South Carolina as an Indian, but that's luckily that didn't.
Parents. Yeah.
No, her parents immigrated. That's fine. That's fine.
But I think her father or mother had a pharmacy for some reason. It popped in my head.
Right. But I mean, they're trying to say on Wikipedia and other places that her Black Baptist religion comes from her dad. Her dad was a Jamaican Marxist, for Christ's sakes, not exactly a Georgia Bible Belt Southern preacher.
And not even a Georgian,
right.
East, Catholic or Orthodox.
Right. I mean, you should see the war. There's an article I posted on Twitter, the war that's going on in Wikipedia on her bio. It's just bam, 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 changes, edit. It's, you know what I mean? Since when she first announced, even till today, you could look at the timeline of edits on her Wikipedia page. And sometimes when you get lucky, you could find the latitude and longitude of the last edit, as I did with the Lee Harvey Oswald rifle battle on Wikipedia. And this is the article, right? Maybe I could post it on Locals. I think I already did. I think I put it on Locals.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's a battle to the death. When the controversy erupted about Lee Harvey Oswald's rifle not being the rifle, the Mannlicher Carcano that's actually in the National Archives, in the Smithsonian, and goes back and forth. The rifle length's not the same. The hooks are not the same. There's a lot of differences in the rifle. It was an edit battle to the death on Wikipedia from JFK researchers and some unknown force. Turned out the unknown force was based at a longitude and latitude that I located at the end when Wikipedia locked the page. And that latitude and longitude was Langley, Virginia, Hunley. And I did some more research, and it turns out that they have an entire floor or a portion of the building, the CIA, that just deals with Wikipedia. There's about 50 agents, tech people, to 75 agents, tech agents, who just deal with Wikipedia. All of you people who want to challenge anything Eric and I say and simply go to Wikipedia and say, hey, you guys are wrong. It says here on Wikipedia, you might as well be going to the Soviet newspaper TASS to contradict Eric and I. That's how invaluable, how lack of value this source has on controversial issues. It's okay if you want to find the capital of Rome.
The co-founder himself has denounced it and is creating another one, has been for years. So
it's just exasperating sometimes.
And by the way, the co-founder who denounces it is the guy who actually did the programming. Not Jimmy Wales, who was just a dumbass mouthpiece.
Right.
The guy who did the work
and
got it up and running, which is a significant difference. I think it's Larry Sanger. I don't know. We got to play with this
woman still have a job or what? She's still there?
Yeah, she is. This is today.
A different topic. Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a Southern accent?
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
She was talking about
what is it, lady?
In Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that you think...
line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a Southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care...
First she denied it. Now it's the importance of the question.
They care about lowering costs. They care about healthcare.
Sorry, lady, that's not the question. Sorry.
Okay, well, this is something.
They care about, your colleague just asked me.
You're not as her campaign
basically,
manager.
you talk about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain.
He's not even arguing with
question about the president. It's just.
You're saying I agree. That's not the question, though.
It sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is
The question.
Look at
I'm
the guy
talking
next
about
to him.
is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings?
I'm.
Woo,
We're moving on. We're still moving around.
No, come on, stick with Peter Doocy. Man, that guy's got balls. Him and James Rosen. I mean, to go into the belly of the woke beast every day and confront them with hard facts, watching them squirm in some parallel universe of gaslight planets is really fun.
Oh, it's the best. Hold on. But the part is, as soon as I saw that, it made me think of somebody else.
Okay.
Somebody from our not too far distant past.
Oh, is that Charlamagne the God?
No, she has to.
Yeah.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right.
Are you
getting information right now?
That's right. I got it right now. That's right. Whip it out.
Sauce
That's
in my
right.
bag, swag?
That's right.
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Let's see it,
I want
lady.
you to know people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay. Is it working?
At least she
No,
admitted it.
she's so upfront about it. Like, I'm pandering to you. Is it working?
Yes.
I've got an entire basket of chicken in my handbag. 17 pieces of chicken I've got in my bag right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at least she was brazen about it. This other one's trying to be coy about it.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, because this kind of goes with the thumbnail, which, yes, I'm very proud of again. We're looking, Donald Trump went to McDonald's.
Oh God, this is great.
All right, we're looking for Kamala. If she's working today, we'll see what happens. We'd like a large French fry. Those beautiful Kamala hand toast fries. Is your ice cream machine working?
That's brilliant.
Okay, because I'm building back better than he is. Can I have a chocolate milkshake for Crooked Joe?
A chocolate milkshake?
That's right. He's been working very hard.
Okay, what size?
We're going to do the biggest one you've got. He's a big boy, after all.
Okay, what else?
That's going to be it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's not in there.
You're a fantastic person, believe me.
Oh my God.
All right, we're
That's
looking for.
that's so great. That's so great. What about the Kamala impersonator, Eric? The one
She's doing a great job too.
Oh my God, she's fantastic.
I know. I was telling you about that.
I didn't. I just found her by accident.
They've actually debated each other, which is so
what?
fun.
Yeah.
Because they're both
God.
tremendous. But we do need to check on Joe. I mean, Trump's getting him some ice cream, so let's see, what's going on with Joe.
May God protect our troops.
President Biden. President Biden.
Thank you so much for coming. We're coming this way. We're coming this
How
way.
are you helping
We're moving this way, guys. We gotta go out. We gotta get out of here. Emily, we're moving that way. We gotta go. We gotta.
Somebody get Grandpa. Get Grandpa.
President Biden, do you support free IVF for parents?
This way, guys. Thanks so much.
Who's this dude? Who's this black guy?
I don't know.
IVF for parents, do you support that proposal?
His savior.
He's like in slow motion.
Thank you, President. Thank you.
Yeah, everything's
Was that
perfect.
recently? Was that
today?
Recently? Oh my
today.
God. He's
That's
gonna
it.
have to
He's
step
gone.
down. He's gonna have to step down. Like Barnes said, Barnes and Rich were doing their Monday show, Inside the Numbers, and Barnes laughingly pushed back, like, what is the benefit if he steps down and makes her president? Because then she's really got the administration wrapped around her neck. And I don't know if he was half serious or serious, but there's a lot you could do when you're the incumbent that besides, she's got the thing wrapped around her neck anyway. As vice president, she's trying to distance herself, obviously, from the administration. But I'll tell you something, him stepping down and making her president is not a bad thing for her to happen to her. You know what I mean?
Because no matter what, she's always president. I mean,
that's right. That's right. And she could do whatever she wants between now and election day till January 20th. So again, I disagree there, but I mean, I think Robert was half serious about it. But nevertheless, I think that it's going to happen. So we'll see what happens, because I believe it's going to happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think if she loses, he's going to make her president for 3 months. And if she wins, he's going to make her president so she can get an early start. Either way, I think and that she's a black woman. He's going to phrase it like he did with the Supreme Court with Jackson. And he wants to break the color barrier of women and whatever he's going to use for excuse. I think it's going to be another payday for him to get out of the administration and get out of the White House, get out of the Oval Office. And I think he's going to double dip into that payoff day of leaving the actual White House.
Right. He's been on vacation for 565 days anyway.
Right. I mean, it's an insane amount, but now he's back. And now what is he going to do? Is he going to meet heads of state? Anything he does is a distraction from her campaign. This is where I disagree with Robert on this, because anything that he does, if he meets the head of Egypt, if he meets the head of EU, he meets someone, that's a news opportunity. Not only is it a dangerous news opportunity for Biden and the presidency, it distracts from her. It takes away from her. If he goes on the stump with her, she's tied to him at the hip, even if it's Scranton. And Rich pointed out, he is not able to hand her those old Scranton Joe votes anymore of older Democrats, older working class people out of Scrantons all around the country. He can't deliver that.
Them passed on.
Right. But some of them that are alive are not going to vote for her. They're his voters. They're his older post 60, post 55, as Rich was saying. She is losing in that area to Trump, in that 55 and above age group, working class guys.
And as women. Dustin agrees with you, and I do too, but as Biden steps down, he gets another round of historical.
Of course, right.
But
Dustin.
Also, I would argue this. It gets it in people's mind that she's already president. And that's a huge psychological.
It's totally. She could then go fly around, meet with Zelensky, go to the UN, address the UN. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. And in a short window of 55 days, she could do amazing amounts of stuff as president and possibly name a vice president.
Yeah. Probably
There's a lot of mechanical things that can happen from it. So anyway, so there's that. I think that's going to happen. If it doesn't, I don't know why.
All right, well, while we're in the mode of scamming the system, Amazon Echo.
You want to explain this to me, Eric, from a technical?
Let's go and play it. And we'll...
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, that's very appropriate.
I'm like, okay, good.
Okay, good. Very good. Very good.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice president, Harris has already broken down a major gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
Okay.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
Okay,
I mean,
so hold on.
It's so crazy. It's so insane as to be almost a parody, and it's not a parody, Eric. It's real.
No, it is not, because I've got more.
Okay, go on.
Hey, Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes any political views.
Good. Oh, very nice.
Okay.
Hey, Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Because you believe in her policies and her vision for the country. Because you trust her experience and her leadership skills. Because you want to continue moving forward as a nation and make progress on issues that matter to you.
Gets better.
Healthcare, education, equality, and justice.
Hey, Alexa, why should I not vote for Donald Trump?
There are several reasons why you may not want to vote for Donald Trump. Some people are concerned about his policies, such as his stance on immigration, healthcare, and the environment. Others are concerned about his behavior, such as his comments about women and minorities, and the treatment of opponents. Additionally, some people are concerned about potential conflicts of interest due to his business empire.
Hey, Alexa, Why should I not vote for Kamala Harris?
I cannot provide content that insults another human being.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
So it is even worse.
It's worse
because it's giving you the negative. But don't worry, Mark. Nothing to see here. It's differing responses about voting for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris were an error.
Right, there's always an error. Of course, we know that error is a code word for we did it and got caught. That's what error means. Every single word in the woke culture means something else, as most of our audience is well aware. Error is always in one direction. Error means we got busted. Error means we've already reached millions and millions of people with the error. And we're going to take our stinking time to fix the error. That's what more of the error means.
Yeah. And it's just funny that the errors seem to be unidirectional.
Yeah, no, I said that. It only goes in one direction every single time. There's no errors going the other way. It's always the same way because the programmers programmed it as such.
Oh, yeah. And that's what makes it really, really, really difficult because, I interviewed Robert Epstein and he talked about that too. Things like that change. That's mind control. And people don't realize how powerful that is. Because there are people who are actually probably asking Alexa saying, oh, I don't know. What do you think? Hey, Alexa, why should we do blah, blah, blah? And they'll actually go along with it. It's similar to the auto suggestions. When you type into Google, you'll notice, there was no presidential assassination attempt against Trump because you literally type assassination attempt, TRU, and it says Truman.
Right.
It goes all the way back, and you can't even get that, and on down the line. But they do always add a positive spin for somebody else. So let's go.
It's got to be stopped. When he gets back in office, they have to drive a stake through this thing. They got to get the head of this stupid company under the lights and play this fucking thing. Don't allow him to say it was an error. Play 80 errors in a row and have him grilled by Hawley out of Missouri and have Ted Cruz grill him about these so-called errors and end this thing. It's enough already.
One, have a data scientist sitting next to them.
Like an Epstein, like this guy Epstein.
Next to me and going, okay, so Dr. Epstein, what are the statistical probabilities of that error?
The statistical probabilities are 1 in 7.333 trillion.
Yeah, you have the better.
Well, you can ask Alexa. Have Alexa next to
times. That would be funny.
Have Alexa go. Alexa, what are the odds of this this happening by accident? The odds are 1.3 trillion 777.888 against it happening by coincidence.
Amazing. All right. Speaking of Trump, he had an interview with Lex Fridman.
Explain this guy to me. Who the hell is this guy?
Okay.
Please,
Lex
Eric.
Fridman,
how does he get all these people? I don't understand.
He's a spook who's buddies with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan now.
Right.
I think he's a spook. I
think he's a spook too.
Russian Ukrainian who.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping by.
Robotics at MIT.
Yeah.
And a scientist, and all of a sudden, he has this podcast, and he's getting Elon Musk on, and he gets millions of people, and then he has Joe Rogan kissing his ass.
When does he do the science? On the weekends in his garage now, Eric?
I don't know.
When does he do his science?
He has his robots do his science for him.
Right.
But he's interesting cat. His interviews aren't terrible, but
he seems to have a flat affect.
He does. He's
okay. All right.
He's a little like a robot himself.
I know. I thought he was an android. I didn't know he was Ukrainian. He's Ukrainian or he's an android?
Well, at birth.
At birth. I got
Ukrainian android. Yeah. Or at build.
Yeah. A lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah.
I think we have.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
I'd certainly take a look at it.
Yeah.
Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago.
Yeah.
They do that for danger too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Okay. All right. So you got an Epstein-Kennedy combo coming out. But I mean, he
like
made
that he's
RFK.
laughing.
RFK. I know. RFK is going to be in charge of this thing, I guess. He's going to have two different hats. He's going to have the JFK investigation Warren Commission hat, and then he's going to have the Anthony Fauci health hat, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you something right now. There's people on the RFK train who have not fully embraced Donald Trump, Eric, as you're well aware.
Of course not. They never will.
Right, right. I mean, despite their leader, their cult leader, saying to vote for Trump, many of them keep running and putting up these tweets that like he's still running. That's all I could say, you know.
Well, he is. He
Right,
had the
yeah.
weirdest.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, well, I am, and I'm not. I'm off the background. Well,
I'm on the ballot. I'm
like
off the
him,
ballot.
you know.
I'm on the bus. I'm off the bus. I mean, you know, what's the deal here? Is he running or not running?
He's half running, Mark.
Okay.
I guess he. You know what? He's half running, which we've been
Yeah.
saying the whole time.
Yeah.
He just made it official
Yeah.
that he's halfway running.
Right. And that keeps the money
Very
going,
good.
by the way, when you suspend a campaign and don't cancel it. The
Mhm.
suspension of a campaign keeps the money coming in. But the big New York Times article this morning, if you want to believe the New York Times, but a huge article in depth about how the arrangement was arranged between Trump and RFK Jr. apparently went on for months. This attempt to put this deal together fell apart, came together, fell apart. You know, one time it fell apart when his nitwit son, Bobby III, was filming him on the phone with Donald Trump.
Gee, I wonder what.
Yeah, that made the Trump people say, look, this is a bridge too far. Forget it, bro. And then he came out with this massive apology, RFK Jr., saying essentially it was my nitwit son who's semi-retarded or whatever. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. And then the deal kind of came back together again, fell apart again with this guy, Callie Means, the food expert. And of course, a lot of people in his camp who did not want to be in bed with Donald Trump. Apparently, RFK overrode all of them.
By the way, am I the only one confused about the Means family? Because Callie is the male and Cassie is the female.
That happens all the time.
And I've heard of Casey's, you know, whatever. I'm just like,
they're both. I mean, she's at Stanford, and he's got some expertise in the field.
oh, I mean, they're both brilliant from what I understand. I'm not.
The Weinstein's not so brilliant, though. They cannot full-throatedly endorse Donald Trump, so they are dancing around instead of doing the right thing, the manly thing, and saying that our candidate has embraced and endorsed Donald Trump, and so will I. They cannot do it. They will continue to split the baby, continue to hem and haw, continue to not endorse full-throatedly the Trump presidency. And if they lose, they'll just say, well, we never endorsed him. We endorsed RFK. And I just keep going at them. I mean, I've had it with both these pieces of crap. You know, both of them went to private schools. Both of them went to Crossroads in Santa Monica. They're wealthy elites. I don't take my marching orders from wealthy elites. This is a working class populist movement. And these two guys, despite their leader telling them to vote for Trump, cannot endorse Donald Trump. Now, the same thing is said. I saw, what's his name? Patrick Bet-David today saying that, did you see this, by the way?
Yeah, but I was going to use what you were saying
go ahead,
as a
go ahead,
segue
go
into.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of people vacillating,
yeah,
one guy is Joe Rogan.
The part.
Anyway,
yeah,
he's got valid points, and also Lex Friedman, by the way, is even more down that path.
Yeah.
Of clearance for Rogan to do it. And Rogan had Bernie Sanders on, so that's some bullshit. I mean, he has had a candidate on, and if he says, "Oh, I'm not going to have him on because he won't do a full 3 hours," Bernie Sanders didn't do a full 3 hours. I think he did an hour.
Trump
and
doesn't
change,
even
so-
have 3 hours to give him, bro.
No,
He'll give him an hour. He'll say, "I don't have 3 hours."
Hell, Theo Vaughn had Trump
How
on,
long
so
was
that's
Theo
kind of
Vaughn?
embarrassing.
How long was he on Theo Vaughn?
Hour and 15, maybe.
Okay,
I don't know.
well,
Look,
I mean,
a
you're a
respectable
candidate.
amount. If you give
Right.
an hour, that's a lot of time.
It's not like he comes in and says, "Please don't ask me the following questions or I'm leaving." I mean, that's insane. I
No,
mean,
they actually talked about his, brother Fred, and got into some, deep stuff. It was kind of cringy at times because Theo Vaughn was making a joke like every other sentence, and Trump wasn't picking up on all of them.
He's a weird cat. I mean, he talks about recovery too out in the open. And Trump has talked about his brother before, not so much about his father, who was an alcoholic, but definitely his brother he's talked about. And that's what made him a straight edge. And he is a straight edge. And people know what that term means. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He never has, and doesn't take drugs, never did. And but maybe he loves Adderall at 3 o'clock in the morning. Who the hell knows? He seems to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start doing stuff. It's hard to believe. I could barely function at 3 o'clock in the morning. But that being said, he could go on to Rogan, and I don't think it's going to break the internet. I mean, he did the thing with Musk, Trump, which, what did it have? 2 billion people dipping in and out, Eric. You know, at this point, who cares what the numbers are? You know what I mean? The point is, it's
to calm people down. To me, the Rogan's important because that's the Bobby crowd. The people who, I mean, it's not going to
go on there with Bobby. Do a double.
That would actually be great.
Go on with him. Go on with it. You know, bring your whole family with you. Bring Tulsi. Bring everybody. Bring all the Avengers. See if we care. I mean, who's she going to bring? She's going to bring China Tim. By the way, speaking of China, see what happened in New York yesterday?
Holtz's,
right. But almost 7 months ago, I said on this show that we got to keep an eye on these Chinese people in New York, because there was an incident where they started to look at them, and people criticized me for being racist, saying, you know, you think all Chinese are spies? In politics, yes, I do. At this day and age, every single one of them is involved with the Communist Chinese Party, and these two, who had like a 41, I mean, the amount of money that these two people had from China is breathtaking. That's just one of their homes. They had another home. They were getting so much money from the Chinese Communist Party. They're both Chinese, by the way. And they were caught red-handed. They've got emails of them back and forth to the Communist Chinese Party.
Let me turn out the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, no. So I'm saying it's her and her husband. They were not only advisors to Hochul, they were advisors to Cuomo. So they go back pre-Governor Hochul to the Cuomo administration, where they were doing the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party, telling them, we've got these two under control. We've got this governor under control. They're not going to mention Taiwan. They're not going to buy masks for COVID from Taiwan. They're going to get them from you guys. All kinds of emails that the FBI have intercepted, really, that is going to put them away or make them political prisoners that could be exchanged for someone else who may get picked up in China who's an American. Who knows?
Well, I mean, why not? They do great trades. I mean, we trade for a lesbian burnout basketball player earlier, the Lord of War.
Right. It's just not a good trade when we trade. I mean, the same thing with the Israelis. The Israelis will trade, 8 dead hostages for 1,700 Hamas fighters and release them. I mean, it's people want their own people back, and some cultures it's more important than other cultures, right, Eric? I mean, to some groups of people, I mean, especially Hamas, who would blow themselves up in a heartbeat to take out an Israeli grandmother in Brooklyn. So it varies from culture to culture as to what a fair trade is.
By the way, she goes a little bit further because, of course, not only is she probably a communist spy, but she's
I think, when people say diversity and inclusion, I think everybody agrees, or most people generally agree that it's a good thing, right? But I think right now we also need to bring in the word equity, right? Diversity is when you say that there's, many different types of people with different backgrounds, and they're all, invited to the table. Inclusion is when, we include all of their ideas. But equity is when we make sure that all of the people who are at the table have equal access to making sure.
No, equal outcomes, lady. Equal outcomes, not access.
And unfortunately, I think some of the
you communist Chinese piece of shit
is that we don't have that much leadership or representation.
So of course she's woke too. I'm sorry, right. I just
no. But the woke thing, that's their thing also, because
it's coming.
If you take equity, that's a communist outcome. Everyone is equal at the end of the factory train. When you come out, everyone's equal. You're all, whatever your rank is, you're all privates in their private army. This piece of shit should be in jail for the rest of her life for doing what she was doing. And I don't trust any of them. Remember, Nancy Pelosi had the Chinese driver of her car. Oh, Dianne Feinstein. I take that back. Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese driver for her car for 25 years, turned out to be a Chinese communist spy who stole all of her files when she wasn't looking out of the car, sent them to the Chinese communist overlords that he worked for. Nothing happened to the guy. They didn't even put him in jail. They were so embarrassed, the Democratic Party, that Feinstein had been infiltrated. They didn't want to magnify it by having a trial. Let's see what happens with these two cats out of New York. Because the last time this happened, and they're picking them up every other month now, the FBI has been on this thing, especially with scientists at universities. That is another big area that the Chinese have infiltrated, because I don't think they can get behind enemy lines and get into corporations per se. It's far too obvious. It's easier for them to be in a university, or, you know, like Fang Fang with Eric Swalwell, as young Nate Hochman told us, they lock onto these people early on in their campaigns, even for a school board member. They'll give them money to get on a school board, then a city council, then a congressional run, then a senatorial run, then a governorship. They take you from 0 to 60, bro.
Well, and also they are often in science and stuff because it's easier to get the visas, because we've done such a shitty job. None of our kids are getting the damn degrees or have the knowledge, and they do in China. And it's really, really embarrassing.
Well, I mean,
we're importing all of our scientists.
China Tim took American kids to China to show them how great it was, and he brought back a suitcase full of little red books by Chairman Mao, according to one of the students. So, you know, he's bringing them over there on these propaganda tours to show them how great the Chinese Communist Party is. That's even more terrifying, taking kids from Minnesota and bringing them to China.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, his own brother.
Oh, yeah.
May actually be out campaigning with Trump. We don't know.
That would be great. That would be.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Who is Tim Walz? Harris supporters weigh in.
Ooh, Tim Walz.
Yeah.
Who is Tim Walz? I didn't know much about him until the past couple weeks, and I like what I see, and I'm glad you chose him.
I like the idea that he came up with the phrase weird. I think it fits. I think he'll pull in a lot of people from the Midwest. So I'm excited.
I think that's going to really connect with rural Americans in that he understands what it's like to live in a town of 400 people and not necessarily have all the public services available that we have in some of the larger cities, but he understands the importance of community.
I feel like whoever Kamala trusts, we can trust.
Him being a former teacher, and I'm a teacher too. So
I'm a teacher, right?
I'm really pleased with that.
I appreciate that he codified abortion access into law in Minnesota. And,
right, because I'm having one tonight. I'm having an abortion tonight.
Help expand that.
At the convention, she could have.
She could have had one at the convention. Maybe this is the line, coming back from the convention.
I don't know. It could be, but it's pretty nauseating. So to have a bit of a palate cleanser.
The dirty secret of Planned Parenthood and abortions is the massive bulk of them are done in the inner city on Black and Latino children or young teens, 13 to 17 years of age, thereby controlling their population by the Democratic Party, as was indicated by the founder of Planned Parenthood, who wanted to control the size of the Blacks in the United States. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe we're missing another woke moment, like with slavery. And by the way, the slavery reparations bill out here in California has been tabled because nobody would show up to vote for it. They were hiding in the closet, these politicians, because nobody wants to be tarnished with this brush of slavery reparations in a state that didn't even have slavery, for Christ's sakes. So this has been put back into the closet, the bill, until next year. They were going crazy over this thing out here, yelling at each other. They want that reparations money.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk to some people who actually know the guy, since her people are confused.
Why did you come forward?
It is morally indefensible. He didn't care. It was all about him.
He's a military impersonator.
I don't understand how he could do it morally, or he's got absolutely no integrity.
The rumor went across the state that he had quit, and it was like
who the hell does that? I mean, it was just unbelievable that a CSM abandoned his troops, 500 soldiers basically. But beyond that, there's 1,000 parents out there that expect that person to lead those people into combat.
He's a habitual liar. He lies about everything. He lies about stuff that doesn't make sense. You're taking a piece of their thunder and you're trying to capture it and put it in a bottle for yourself and use that for your own benefit.
He basically said, I've got better things to do. Go pick somebody else to go on a mission. Well, if you sold out your guard unit and abandoned them, I mean, what are you going to do at the national level?
Fear is a reaction. Bravery is a decision. And Walz has made the wrong decision. He's not brave. I call him a coward because he is.
Whoa.
One guy in the chat, I saw this flash by. I love it. He went AWOLs.
That's funny. That's a good one. That's a good one. I never heard of that. Wow. AWOLs.
Yeah. Away without leave.
I'd like them to, when they're done with this stolen valor, which could go on as long as they want, I'd like him to get into his Chinese connections to the Chinese Communist Party, which I think are just as damaging, Eric.
Or even more so, but why not roll it all the way through and just
right? Well, I mean, there is a window here of election where we're going to run out of days, so I'd like to maybe go back and forth and get a couple of other hammers hitting them in the head.
Well, that is starting to roll out.
Oh,
I think Poso's done it.
It's happening.
Trust me, it's coming. But I like this. This guy was criticizing him, and watch what happens.
The governor has agreed to a debate on October 28th. You're not thrilled about that.
As you and I both know that that's a sham. Early voting starts in less than 3 weeks. Come on. What's happening is Tim Walz wants to have one debate as late as he can, potentially after 50% of Minnesotans have voted, and say, see, all the major news programs understand that I've had a debate. At this time, 4 years ago, Tim Walz had participated in 4 debates. He's absolutely been shutting them down. He wants to do this one debate so far into it, just before Halloween, and you know that he's actually using you to put out his message that I want to debate. He doesn't want.
Oops.
Who was that guy?
That was a state senator from Minnesota, and
would they cut him off or something?
Yeah, well, watch.
Oh my God, you got to be kidding me.
Looks like we lost that feed right there. You were just hearing
No.
That's why.
No, stop it. It's so wrong, Hunley.
So, it's like if you can't get it one way, if you can't get Alexa to make it happen, we'll just shut the feed off. We'll do anything.
Right. Like I said, they're into different things now. It's not just bundling of mail-in ballots, Eric. They're moving on to other tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're doing so poorly that they've got to have range. They've got to accumulate more and more and more to make up the difference.
Unfortunately, we always fight the last war in this country, and we're now, like the RNC is fighting the old battle that they lost in 2020. Mm-hmm. And now these guys are moving on to some new hip, slick stealing. The RNC will fight that one in 4 years from now.
While we're fighting other battles, obviously Pennsylvania is maybe the most important state. You've said it 1,000 times. It's coming down to that.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a little bit of a scam going with the Eagle.
This is great, Eric.
All right. Well, wow. I want to know where you are with it because there's been more that's come out on it.
Well, I got a feeling that it's not just the Eagles. I think they're doing this in other states. The Eagles now have issued a statement. We have not endorsed Kamala Harris. That ad is still up there at the bus stops, and I think they're going to do it. Watch for one with the Minnesota Vikings out of Walz's home state. I think that nobody has found the other ones yet. You know what I mean? I'm looking for them here. There's a guy named Sabo, S-A-B-O, who's a brilliant political satirist artist, a visual artist, who does conservative takedowns of all kinds of stuff in LA. I mean, just absolutely a brilliant bus stop art saboteur. Let me put it that way. So I'm looking for Sabo to do a counter version of this, possibly.
Wasn't he the one that did the floating penises in New York?
I don't think
with the balloons.
I don't know about that one, but he does a lot of bus stop and bus bench art against the Democratic Party.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because the team released a statement. Now, I'm a little leery about Laura Loomer because she tends to put a lot out there, and I don't know if it can be all verified, but she's claiming that no, they in fact are doing it for Kamala. That the director of the team relations actively campaigned for both of them, assisted the Democratic Party in the mail ballot drop boxes.
All right.
And apparently she's got into a fight with him where he kind of admitted it.
Interesting.
See, isn't that a crime?
Well, it's a little small, but what does it say?
Well,
I see. Oh, hold on. I see it. Hold on. You just blow that up again.
Let me see. Eagles fan Joe taking matters in his own hand, went to Staples, made copies.
Right. Isn't there a statement from the Eagles itself?
There is one. And that's what's interesting is this guy here, Christian Molnar, is the director of team relationships for the Eagles.
Right.
I'm curious to see how it all shakes out.
Somebody on the inside was working with them. There's some insiders, and now they've been caught. That's my take on this. This guy, whoever this guy is, was working with him. I think he'll be fired. They did have some insight to get that art, and to do that looks like an inside job.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm telling you, Philly is so corrupt, it's thrilling. To quote Lenny Bruce about Chicago in 1956, Philly is the new Chicago of the 50s. I mean, it's so freaking corrupt, not close to LA because nobody could touch us. But when it comes to politics, you got to look at Philly. And all of those, like I said, all of those county registrars in Pennsylvania have got to sit on their hands before they turn in their final vote tallies on November 5th that night. They just can't turn them in. I know this is going to rattle them, but just don't turn them in until Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are done. I don't know what's so difficult about that. Apparently, this guy Longo agrees with Eric and us, right? The mayor from Pennsylvania. Do not turn in your final tallies. It doesn't mean you have to monkey with them. It doesn't mean you have to alter them. It doesn't mean you have to do anything. They're all set. Don't turn them in. Turn them in the next day. Who gives a shit when you turn them in? What are they going to do? Arrest you? Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. All right. I saw this story. It's always encouraging. Never know though how it works out, but Tim Walz is actually hurting Kamala Harris in his home state of Minnesota, a new poll suggesting.
I don't know. I think she's going to win Minnesota. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know how accurate that particular story is, but the fact that she's wearing earbuds now to go from the car to the plane while doing a little dance, I find that to be disconcerting, Eric.
I got to confess, it's embarrassing now because like when I'm out walking or I'm at the gas station or whatever, we do have areas where people will come up and hit you up for money. And I have, earbuds in, whether they're on or off. And I know that I'm doing the exact same thing she's doing with the reporters. But what I love though, Mark, is I'm at least only doing with the earbuds. She was doing the earbuds and holding a phone up at the same time. It's like, you don't have to do both now, Kamala. Okay. We get it.
In New York, we used to have a system where if a homeless guy came up and asked you for money, you would simply say, I'm sorry, I don't speak English. And they would say, but you're speaking it now. And you would go, yes, but I'm running out of words. I have very few words I could speak in English. And this is about the extent of them. And they get so confused, they don't know what to do. And then they move on to someone else. It's an old New York bit.
I've got to remember that and see.
It really is fun. You can, because sometimes it goes on for a long time where they won't, they're walking with you trying to get money and just going, listen, I'm actually running out of words in English. I really can't continue this conversation. I don't speak English. And it's just watching them melt down is kind of fun. The other one is, of course, looking up at the roof of a building in Midtown Manhattan, and everybody in the city looks up at the building because you made them look up. That's an old fun high school trick to do in New York.
Well, my favorite incident, because we have it in the area, and actually most of the people who are panhandling are not homeless. They actually have an apartment or whatever on the side. And going off of the interstate, they put up a sign, literally off the interstate, saying, please do not give money to panhandlers.
Wow.
They have other resources and things like that.
Wow.
Blah, 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 blah. My favorite part is there's a panhandler standing
underneath the sign. Oh, of course.
Quite literally.
It's like the doctor standing under the no smoking sign in the hospital. You know.
Right. Or the pigeon sitting on top of the owl.
The pigeon sitting on top of the owl?
Okay, you don't know about that. People put up a fake owl on warehouses and stuff to scare the pigeons off.
Okay.
And it's very funny when you see a pigeon just sitting on top of the owl.
I see what you're saying. It could be a scarecrow too, though, right?
Theoretically, it would be like a crow sitting on a scarecrow.
All right.
All right. Continuing that same line. Apparently, and you could fill this in more. A latest swing state poll suggests Trump could score a decisive victory against Kamala Harris.
In New York, or because it shows Hochul
swing
there,
state.
Right? Any swing state, or just the swing states?
It's a swing state poll. So let me see. You've got the Trafalgar.
Trafalgar is the most, besides Barris, Trafalgar is the most accurate.
All right. Well, it's saying that he's got wins in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin potentially in the margins of error.
And Barris agrees, and Barnes agrees that she has to sweep these battleground states to win, because Pennsylvania is slowly being taken off the map by her. That's why Shapiro was taken off the map, and Shapiro's not happy about it. Shapiro's not going to campaign for her. Neither is Joe Biden going to campaign for her for other reasons. But Shapiro, and nobody's lifting a finger for her in Pennsylvania, by the way. I think they're going to have to try to sweep the upper Midwest of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, to be a contender for 270 plus electoral votes. But yeah, what Trafalgar is saying is the damage that Trump has already done to her, and everybody's saying she got no bounce out of the convention. This is the craziest story of the year. How do you get no bounce out of that convention? I think.
Well, that's what I was telling you, because I was looking at it, I'm like, nothing's shifting, not even slightly.
It doesn't make any statistical sense, but apparently it's true. She was preaching to the converted.
Yeah, because her honeymoon was over. When she got the announcement, that was her bounce.
Well, Mark Halpern has really gotten an inside look at this thing, because all of Halpern's connections are Democratic operatives. And he is saying that their numbers are terrifying them inside the Democratic Party, that her honeymoon is not only over, there is no more honeymoon, and she's already run out of gas. And what Halpern said, they're not even into mid-September yet. And that's why I think that she's got to become the president to reignite this failing campaign, which is a separate issue. I mean, Halpern talked about how these inside numbers are showing that Trump is making inroads in every state, especially all the battleground states now, and that if he's behind her or tied with her, like we know, because he's under-polled, right, Eric? The Trump voters under-polled, that would mean the death and destruction of the Harris campaign. So that's interesting. That take is very interesting. But we're now about, I want to say, 55 days out, right, from the election. Even with early voting. I mean, I don't know how many people do early voting. I think the bulk of it is still being done on election day. And Pennsylvania came out saying another federal court ruling in Pennsylvania or state court ruled that even if the mail-in date is wrong on the absentee ballot, you still have to accept it. I think that's some technical mumbo jumbo to get more absentee ballots into the hopper, but they may need so many absentee ballots it may not be doable. They may have to do some other type of situation.
Agree. I mean,
that being said, the Kamala Harris campaign has driven a stake into the guy that I thought was going to be the nominee.
That's what I was just about to bring
up.
I
know.
The happiest person on the planet right now with these polls has to be Gavin Newsom.
Right.
Because think about it. And somebody pointed out that there's some speculation, like a lot of Silicon Valley all of a sudden comfortable with Trump and others. Well, they're very comfortable with Gavin too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So some behind the scenes shit could be going on here too. A little bit of sabotage, because he'll be #1 in line for 2028.
Well, he is anyway. He is anyway. But regardless of it, I think the real switcheroo was not her for Biden. It was Newsom being switched out for Kamala Harris. And he was stunned by this. He was taken aback, and I tell you where it came from. And I could trace it back to the exact day that it happened, when black women media went berserk, and that was The View, that was all of the black women media saying, if you pass over Kamala Harris for a white man, we're done. And that was orchestrated, that was effective, and that drove a stake through Gavin Newsom's white heart. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was totally organized, totally loud, totally angry, totally vehement, and apparently totally serious, because it worked, Eric. They switched from Newsom to her the next day.
What is so interesting, though, is Rich was telling us on Friday that the black female vote isn't as in lockstep as much as before. And I didn't even think about the generational aspect of it, that a lot of the, the church ladies have died off.
Yeah. Well, I also believe that there's not that many of the whole group, the whole demographic, like Rich and we were all talking about. It's 6% of the electorate, or 8 at max, Eric, of female black Democratic voters. There's just not that many of them. They could be all at the convention screaming, and it looked great having an entire building filled with Oprahs and Gayle Kings. But in reality, it's 6% of the vote nationally.
And then there's the question, too, that I kind of wonder if a Gavin Newsom candidate might say, what are you going to do? Go vote for Trump? Right. If he was in, it'd be like, okay. Whatever. What are you going to do about it?
According to Mark Halpern and Rich, and they were talking about this on Monday, according to Mark Halpern, the Trump campaign exhaled a sigh of relief similar to the Nixon campaign with McGovern getting the nomination when she got the nomination. That's how happy they were, and that's how afraid they were of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is a fierce debater, a fierce campaigner, and is young and can lie like there's no tomorrow. He's not Joe Biden. This guy would have been a much tougher candidate than Kamala Harris for Donald Trump. I'm just saying, that's my opinion.
And that's especially coming out of the recall, because they went after him, took him down with a recall, but then he came out in a landslide.
Crushed them. He crushed them.
Right, which actually made him stronger. So he managed to pull himself. He's dangerous as hell.
He's very dangerous. He's a snake. And he'll be back in 2028. So he's not going to go away. He's
and I hope Vance can hold up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They destroyed Larry Elder in this state when he ran against him, calling him famously the black face of white supremacy in the LA Times.
Oh, yeah. No, totally agree. All right. I think you sent me this, but there's a breaking story. The declassified Susan Rice email,
I don't know anything
confirms that Michael Flynn was personally targeted.
Oh, yeah.
An Oval Office meeting.
Yeah, I think we knew that back in the day. I think this was old news back then. I don't know if this is a new, more in-depth report on
it's
it.
2020. So no. Why do I have this? Okay.
I don't know. It's an older story, but he was targeted for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But what isn't old is this letter that the Lincoln Project sent out, which I don't know if I sent you a copy of it, but I'll read a little bit about it. It's really fascinating. Was completely unnoticed by the news media. The Lincoln Project is famously this right-wing creeps in the Republican Party who are never Trumpers, right, Eric? Are they?
Mark Warner, I think. There's even speculation about PDF files, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So the situation is August 30th, they wrote a letter to Merrick Garland, violation of 18 U.S.C. 599 and 600 by Donald Trump. Dear Attorney General Garland, the Lincoln Project formally requests that your office open an investigation into Donald Trump to determine if he violated 18 U.S.C. Section 599, 18 U.S.C. Section 600 by promising to appoint or support for appointment Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to a public office in exchange for RFK Jr. endorsing and supporting Trump's campaign for president of the United States. This goes on. There is a criminal violation subject to fines and imprisonment. And then they give the history of this law. No. This is quite an interesting weapon, and it's under the radar that Trump made a deal with RFK promising certain things that are in violation of these two statutes and can be, in fact, weaponized against Donald Trump and RFK Jr. If you read this, it's a 4-page letter. I'll post it on Locals, 5 pages long, directly to Merrick Garland. This thing reeks, and it looks pretty scary. It's from Mario Nicolay, the general counsel of the Lincoln Project. Is a copy of the letter right here, which we'll put up on Locals. Yeah, here it is. Read the letter Lincoln Project sent to Merrick Garland. Yeah. They're accusing Trump of a quid pro quo, which is illegal during campaigns to promise a position in lieu of an endorsement publicly.
Okay. I'm going to call bullshit on that because
go ahead.
No, I think they're exaggerating claims. There's always a quote quid pro quo. I mean, when you say they're going to be part of my thing, that doesn't mean that it's a specific position. How many candidates have said, "Oh, they're going to be"? You're going to see a lot of them in the future, and they've even explicitly said, that Trump has not offered a specific position to RFK.
On Friday,
and the only thing he said, transition team. He was going to be head of the transition team. I think is that enough?
Apparently not. There's a lot more to it because they make quotes from Trump and RFK Jr. On Friday, after the DNC convention closed, RFK Jr. endorsed Trump for president during a press conference and rally that same day. RFK Jr. spoke extensively about his beliefs regarding the health of Americans and failings, including HHS. He stated, blah, blah, blah. Almost immediately, Trump and his campaign began campaigning off of RFK Jr.'s endorsement, including the press conference, the rally speech, social media posts, including a weird mashup of their faces in an Instagram post for MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. To our knowledge, the DOJ has never prosecuted a violation for Section 599, and Section 600 is also rare. But America has also never had a felon indicted and convicted for interfering with an election run for president before either. Under the circumstances listed above, an investigation is more than warranted. And then it goes into how Section 599 reads. And I'll just read 599 and 600, call it a day. Promise, Eric, of appointment by candidate, 599. Whoever, being a candidate, directly or indirectly promises or pledges the appointment or the use of his influence or support for the appointment of any person to any public or private position or employment for the purpose of procuring support in his candidacy shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than a year or both, and if the violation was willful, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 2 years or both.
It sounds like a misdemeanor, not a felony.
Well, it has 2 years attached to it. So it says it right here. This is the statute. 600, promise of employment or other benefit for political activity. Whoever directly or indirectly promises any employment, position, compensation, contract, appointment, or other benefit provided for or made possible in whole or in part by any act of Congress or any special consideration in obtaining any such benefit to any person or consideration, favor, or reward for any political activity or for the support or opposition to any candidate or any political party in connection with any general or special election to any political office shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for not more than a year or both. And it goes into delineate what the crimes were that they did. It's enough for someone like Merrick Garland to do something like they're recommending, is why I'm reading this out, because nobody covered this really. And it's something Merrick Garland would do based on what he's done in the past.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to be probably bringing that up on the Friday show with all the lawyers, because I want to see, what they have to say too, because I'm guessing that might actually be a statute, but I think everybody has done it. I think Biden's done it. Clinton's.
Oh, that I don't know. That I don't know. It's never really been enforced.
Right. Because it would snare everyone.
But they're saying that this is a special situation.
Well, everything's a special. It's like the Trump factor. Good
I know.
God.
Yeah.
Well,
we're coming up on the 18th, so all of this could change on the 18th with the Colombian dictator Judge Marchand having to come down with a sentence finally.
Maybe. Hold on. Did you listen to Viva Barnes on Sunday? Because there's some interesting stuff about that.
What? Tell me.
That the Trump team has filed for the change of venue to a federal court, and they may be able.
I heard that. I think it'll be denied.
But that would be that could actually do it.
I think it'll be denied.
It could be. I don't know, but it depends.
He's not transferring that power, Marchand. He's not going to allow that to happen.
Well, it's not up to him. I mean, if they get the right, upper court, Supreme Court could just say we're taking it.
It's the state of New York, though.
Right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay. It's a thing. It's a thing. That being said, if it doesn't happen, he's going to be sentenced the 18th. So.
Yeah. To whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So while we're talking about the Midwest, I don't know the full details on this, but we have the 32 Venezuelan gang members allegedly overrunning an apartment complex, and there's like a 911 call.
Unit 10-3, I'm citywide person with a gun, 6124 South King Drive. Caller says 32 Venezuelans are trespassing the building, showing guns in the courtyard, and they have motorcycles in the courtyard as well. All stairwells are filled. Nothing further is unclear.
Anyway, so now
where is this one? This is the other. This is not Colorado. This is in
Chicago.
This is in Chicago, where they've taken over some sort of Cabrini Green type housing project there, and will start to run that one. If they probably already have, and they're freely walking around with weapons.
But wait, there's more. Now, Libs of TikTok is scooping, saying Connecticut law enforcement are now being warned about a Venezuelan gang. I don't know how to say it. Trendiagra.
Yeah, it's TRA or something, or it's the three letters.
TDA. Okay.
TDA, it's called?
Yep. Same gang that took over Colorado. So is this like the new MS-13 going around?
Oh, they make MS-13 look like choir boys, according to everyone in law enforcement. The Hells Angels are apparently heading down to Aurora to confront them, which is possibly one of the greatest movies ever made since the communist shootout in North Carolina with the KKK back in the 80s. People who were there know what I'm talking about. This may be the greatest matchup of all time. The Venezuelan gangs versus the Hells Angels in Aurora.
It could be interesting. I did love this meme, though, somebody responding to it, to one of the gang members.
What does it say? What
would you do if I broke in your house?
Now, hold on just a minute, Skittles. I live down here in the South, and we protect ourselves with pit bulls and pew-pews. And the real question is, which one of them is going to get you first? Because I be diddly-dad-burn. We get up too early, stay up too late, and work too damn hard for our shit to be letting somebody who looks like they tasted the rainbow come in and take our stuff. No, honey. Down here, we just soon send your soul to Jesus and let him sort it out. You know what I mean? This is the way I see it. If you're ever skipping your happy ass down here on the streets in the South and you get this hair up your butt to come into one of our houses, I suggest you do one or two things, baby. You hit your knees and you start praying to the Lord because you fixing to meet him, or you just keep skipping your happy ass until you get out of town. Now, I personally think the latter of the two choices is the better choice, but bless your heart, you can choose either one you like. Just, baby, choose wisely, okay?
Well, regardless of Bible Belt Annie there, these gangs are taking over apartment complexes, usually low income to working class level, middle class apartment complexes. And they have put their own people in there, regular people, not gang members, regular Venezuelans, Guatemalans, and other illegal aliens in the buildings, and are selling them drugs and charging them rent and collecting the rent at gunpoint. This is where we are now as a nation. This is happening across the country. And I'm sure North and South Carolina are going to feel their own version.
Well, let me just say, you say it's just, I would argue this is being allowed to.
Oh yeah.
This is not a normal
no, I agree.
Circumstance, and I
guarantee. They apparently the spigot was turned off by this insane governor of Colorado. This gay governor there, who's completely out of his tree, told them to lay off these guys, and it trickled all the way down to the Aurora police chief, who denied the entire thing, according to the state of Colorado, from the governor's office on down. Until that video came out, they gaslit everyone.
So he still denied it.
Yeah, he still denied it. Yeah, this is the famous Feliz Navidad governor of Colorado. This nutbag. I mean, it's insane that we have these different political people representing us and how they've got there. They've got to be vetted before they get into the election cycle. There has to be, I think, psychological tests issued, and I think there has to be written tests issued regarding the history of the United States, the history of your state, and also a battery of psychological exams that have to, hopefully, the Minnesota multiphasic personality test should be issued by law to make sure they're not psychos. And if you don't want to take it, you don't have to run. But I think there has to be some psychological testing of people running for office. We can't just let these psychos get in there all the time.
You have a president who has to be led away from the table. Yeah, Mark, that's going to happen tomorrow.
The wheelchair Willie of Texas will make it happen, as will Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, make this happen. So watch what you wish for. The Attorney General in Missouri, I think, is going after Pfizer today in a massive tobacco. Kansas?
Kansas.
Kansas. It's going after Pfizer today. And if you would have told me that 3 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. So watch what you pray for, because this stuff is finally, in a good way, coming true. This is maybe the similar version of big tobacco. And also there's the Google monopoly lawsuit happening, and a bunch of different
big food. As RFK pointed out,
food,
big tobacco bought big food, and and that's what's poisoning us now. So
yeah. And I like processed food as much as the next guy, but enough is enough. There's processed food and apparently ultra processed food.
Yeah, which it's like, what? Oh, there's pasteurized and ultra pasteurized.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of burying your heads in the sand.
Okay.
Tennessee Star.
What is it?
Today released the manifesto left by the Covenant. Audrey Hale. Remember the state was trying to prevent it, and then they came up with some bullshit saying, "Oh, we can't release it because the copyright is owned by the victims or something." They were doing everything to not.
What is it to them? What is it to them? I don't get it.
It is very weird. It's not really surprising. From what I've seen coming out of it, the person was not happy in their own skin.
Right, but what does the state of Tennessee care? I don't understand. What is their dog in the hunt?
I don't know.
They have fought this thing. Okay, but there's woke and there's woke. I mean, Jesus, for the love of God, what's it to you?
I totally agree. It's very, 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 very weird. Completely weird.
There is a hospital in Tennessee. There's a hospital, I think it's Vanderbilt, that may be driving this train.
Yeah. Oh, Vanderbilt University. Sure.
Yeah. I think it's that hospital that is Matt Walsh proved was one of the leading trans hospitals in the country. I got a feeling that they're the ones driving this train.
Well, that, and also Tennessee has been pulling in from all over, and I don't think it's going to be red that much longer.
Yeah.
They already have been infected by a lot of people. Now, the Daily Wire went there because it's like, okay, yay, it's going to, no.
They got a new movie coming out this week called I Am Not a Racist.
Am I racist? Am I racist?
Am I racist?
Right. That was the question.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's the same guy who did What is a Woman?
Matt Walsh.
No, Matt Walsh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, they don't like Matt Walsh over there, Viva and Barnes.
No. Not when he talks about raw milk.
Yeah, what happened with this guy? I don't understand. He seemed like just a funny comedy guy. He doesn't like raw milk.
He's a never Trumper. Right. I think he's a semi-Trumper now, Ben. But yeah, he just made a tweet saying
semi-Trumper. I like that, semi-Trumper. Never heard that.
What was he just did a tweet saying it's disgusting, it's carrying E. coli, blah blah blah. Why do people want it? On a tweet, and that just lit Barnes up. And
I don't know anything about milk, but I mean, I drink almond milk, which I don't even know if it is milk. Is almond milk milk? I mean, I don't know. It's not, right? It's not milk.
No, and that's one of those things.
It's just a bunch of crushed almonds, right?
Well, mixed with water.
With water, yeah.
And that's part of my issue with it is I think that don't call it fucking milk. Excuse my language, but it's like call it almond.
Well, don't forget the margarine butter war went on for a long time, where margarine tried to get up in the butter area, and the butter lobby pushed back hard against margarine. I mean, that was a war to the death.
Yeah, people are saying that's good. That's fair. It's a juice, actually.
Yeah,
almond milk. But I get tired of like using the terms. It's like Velveeta. You know that Velveeta famously has no cheese.
We know that, but as a Jew, I must tell you that we are lactose intolerant as a people and have problems digesting unpasteurized milk. And that's because we came from the urban centers. We didn't have cows. We were more of a tradecraft people. We weren't farmers in Poland. And we have a lactose intolerance in our culture that leads to bloating and gas and everything else. That's where the lactose free products came from. It was really for Ashkenazi Jews as a market because of our lactose intolerance as a culture, which was kind of a weird historical.
I got a cure for it.
No, it's the same. I think it would have a go. But anyway, the lactose free milk, and it's cottage cheese, it's ice cream. It's not just milk, Eric.
Right.
So,
no, I'm saying, but goat's milk doesn't have lactose. I know I grew up with it, and
okay, but we don't have any goats. It's not like we have goats anywhere.
No, but you could buy goat's
in
milk
Brooklyn.
at the
We
market.
had no goats. There was no goat milk. There wasn't no dispenser of goats in Brooklyn, Eric. I'm just saying.
They did sell goat milk.
You grew up on a farm with goats and all different animals. I grew up. We're going to be hit by a train, so we didn't have goats. So eventually that led to lactose-free products. Is all I'm saying.
All right, fair enough.
No big deal.
All right. Well, while we're talking about COVID, Cuomo is going to be testifying before a House COVID
Yes,
panel.
this is a good story. This was coming down the pike because they have already, behind closed doors, under oath, gotten his assistants and people who were aides to Cuomo to testify that he was Mr. Big. Now he's coming in and he's facing a perjury trap, by the way. This is a great story, also not being covered yet. He's going to have to testify under oath behind closed doors, and he may perjure himself because they already have testimony from numerous people around him.
Interesting.
This was about sending 5,000
nursing homes
to their deaths by putting them in nursing homes after coming out of the hospitals, putting them in these incubators and killing them. He has tried to say his aides told him to do it. The aides have now testified that he told them to do it.
I hope they don't stop there, because they also need to bring in Whitmer, who did the same thing in Michigan.
Well, okay.
And also Pennsylvania, which, by the way, they need to bring in that freak admiral, whatever it is.
Admiral Burley. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Oh,
well, they're starting with Cuomo because Cuomo is a man without a country. So he might be low hanging fruit.
Yeah. He might be. Who knows? He might roll. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but
yeah,
I hope they do bring the others in as well.
Yeah, I would love to see in 2028 a Cuomo versus a Newsom debate to get the Democratic nomination. I would like to see them in a primary with whoever else. Whitmer, bring it on. Whoever you got
there.
Yeah, no, that would be a great slew of candidates.
Who's the dumbass senator from Jersey? He'll be back, I'm sure. Cory
Menendez or Cory Booker?
Cory Booker. I'm sure he'll be, in the primaries.
Yeah.
And maybe they could dig up Pocahontas again.
Pocahontas might be back. I mean, it might be one of the great ones of all time in 2028.
It could be. Maybe Mark Kelly will show up.
Mark Kelly, the astronaut.
Yep. So, you know what, though? If there is a 2028 primary, though, Kamala won't be there. She will be gone.
Yeah.
This is it for her.
This is it.
The end of the road for Kamala. If she loses, bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
The train is going into the station.
Whatever happened to George McGovern again?
It's a good question. And Mike Dukakis, I mean, the same thing. I mean,
and McGovern lived to, I think he only died a few years ago.
He lived a
long time.
Yeah, in shame.
Long life in obscurity.
Yeah.
So I wish the same for Kamala. But okay, so on international news, we've got Brazil banning Twitter.
Well, again,
freezing
this,
Starlink.
yeah, wow. This is from Dr. Evil, the judge there, Judge Evil Lord. One of the scariest looking people on the face of the earth is the judge that
The
did
Batman supervillain, yeah.
this. The supervillain, Lex Luthor guy. I mean, look, not only that, they're arresting you if you have what Eric likes, the VPN. If they find that you've got VPN, you're going to jail trying to get around it. And they said that Apple and the other companies had to remove Twitter from their stores. The apps for Twitter had to be removed from the Apple store and the Amazon thing, all gone.
Google Play.
Google Play, the same thing. The two tips of the spear that the empire is using, and I say the empire meaning us, the two tips of the spear appear to be, according to Mike Benz and other people, are France and Brazil being controlled by us in this tech banning pre-election events.
Yeah, it's interesting. And of course, famously, Rumble's already out of there.
Rumble's already out of there. That's right. So they could shut down Rumble if it was there. It's not there. It reaches a much smaller audience. Now, I understand there was supposed to be a Twitter Files 2.0 coming out tonight. Did you hear this?
Well, there's an account, I don't know if you follow it, on that judge on Twitter, and they've been dripping it out. We actually have a fan from Brazil who sometimes joins on the grill stream, and he was telling me about it, that Elon, as he put it, and Glenn Greenwald, I think, is involved.
Glenn Greenwald's involved, yeah.
They're treating it like Gary Powers. That, remember when he got shot down and they had him, they released, they're like, I think you're spying on us. No, we're not spying on you. No. Well, here's this evidence. And it's like, well, that's a balloon. Oh, well, what about this? This is the plane. Anyway, apparently Elon's been rolling this out on the judge like, oh, here's a document dump.
Oh, okay.
Here's a document dump.
Is that the 2.0 Twitter thing that they're doing?
I think it might be.
Okay, all right.
Or, definitely with the Brazil side.
Right, I got you.
Not everybody's, unhappy with this, Mark. Some people are celebrating, like Robert Reich.
Robert Reich, this dwarf.
The midget.
Yeah, he wanted to be in Snow White, and he was rejected. He went in to read for the part of Sleepy, and they turned him down. They said, we're going to go CGI on this thing. And Reich fired his agents. He just said, I'm done with you. You couldn't get me a part in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This man is obviously putting out the trial balloon. That's why he's there. It's kind of like, what's his name? Tim Kaine from Delaware, who's like the Biden spokesperson.
Tim Kaine's from Virginia. Former
who is the guy from Delaware, the senator from Delaware, who is linked to Biden?
I don't know.
Anyway, the point of the matter is Reich is a spokesperson for certain elements in the Democratic Party, and he's putting out this trial balloon to see where it'll go on the arrest of Elon Musk.
Well, he's not alone. Keith Ellison. He's very, very happy with it, and he's celebrating the banning too.
This guy is the most dangerous man in America, Keith Ellison. Chris Coons is who I was thinking of. This guy was the spokesperson for, as many people know, Farrakhan, the Jew-hating, Muslim, crazy Nation of Islam guy. This was his spokesperson. And one of the first things I realized that we were in trouble as a nation was this guy's political climb. And I thought it was impossible for someone with his baggage to become, never mind attorney general or mayor of a small town in Minnesota, but attorney general of the state. I mean, I thought this was an impossibility. He had no background to this. And this guy is the top law enforcement official. He's the most dangerous, in my opinion, the most dangerous man in America is this guy. He's not done, obviously, with attorney general. He's not going to stay there. He's going to move on up the ladder. You not heard the last from Ellison. But this is a Marxist, radical Muslim combo Farrakhan guy who is on both sides, pro-Hamas and pro-Marx. This is the future, the merging of these two political elements, Marxists and Hamas together. And that's what Ellison represents. That's why he's the most dangerous man in America, in my opinion.
He's a bad dude.
He's a bad dude, my friend. This is a bad, bad dude who has a lot of baggage with women, abusing them, beating them, according to sources. This is a bad, bad dude.
And then I think you sent me this, but we have judge blocking an Ohio law that banned foreign nationals from spending money on ballot campaigns.
Yeah, this just, opened up. They said the judge said First Amendment and Chinese money will now flow into these senatorial races. Just took this one judge to DeWine signed the law. The governor of who's not a Trumper or anything, sort of a moderate Republican, but he signed the law barring foreign money into the state of Ohio's political campaigns and ballot initiatives. And this judge said, no, they have to send in money from communist China. I'm being paid to do this, and I am going to block this Ohio law. Shockingly, as it seems, in the middle of a campaign season with senatorial races on the line there. Sherrod Brown and some other people there who may be vulnerable, according to Barnes and Rich. The two most vulnerable are Sherrod Brown and this tester up in Montana for taking seats, for taking the Senate. I think we may have a flip where we take the Senate back and lose the House, as my prediction.
Please be wrong.
No, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we may see a flip in power in terms of those two bodies, that they may completely flip, because it would be hard at this point with 5 Senate seats up in the air, 5 Democratic Senate seats up in the air. We've already got 50 in the bag, and they have 45, and there's 5 up for grabs, that they win all 5. I can't see that with Sherrod Brown. I think he's vulnerable out of Ohio, and Tester certainly up there, whatever the hell is going on up there. I don't even know how this guy is a senator up there, but I think those are the two that'll flip. So it may end up being 52 to 48 based on that number.
All right. I saw this earlier and I just was like, I didn't put it together, but I thought it was an interesting clip of Bobby Kennedy talking about why the vaccines are so important in pediatrician offices. And he put together a business case that I didn't realize.
Typical pediatrician's office makes about 50% of its funding comes from vaccines, not actually from selling the individual vaccines, from the traffic. I mean, when I was a kid, I went to the doctor when I needed stitches, and that's it. And today, every kid goes to the doctor at least 10
mandatory
times to get their vaccines. And that foot traffic in and out of the office is a major part of the business plan for the pediatrician office.
Now, I had never thought about that. And it makes so much sense. So it's like, it's not even, they make nothing on that. But while they're there, well, we need to talk to you about such and such. And then
not only that, right, any new vaccine that comes out, which I find to be astounding that nobody focuses on this, and I'm sure he knows well about it, is the reward system by writing prescriptions for X amount of prescriptions for a new drug. Forget about vaccines. I'm talking about any new drug. There are levels. The salesperson comes in with the pens and the calendars and the T-shirts and everything for Vaxium, the new drug it's called Vaxium, let's say, I'm making it up. And they say to you, if you hit 500 prescriptions of Vaxium in the first 3 months, you will receive a trip to the Caribbean, a golf trip to Carmel, California. All of these incentives apparently are not discussed by anyone for the incentives of doctors to simply write prescriptions to get these prizes, Eric. It seems insane how obvious this thing is. He's simply talking about foot traffic and the vaccine, which is definitely true.
Well, but the prescription, I never thought about it. But it forces, because like the schools mandate.
Oh, that's right. That's a separate.
So if you take all these things together, you're it's like it's kind of like the state inspection of your car. How much business is generated because you have to take your car in, and well, you know what, Mark, your tires don't pass muster. You need new tires, and this doesn't pass muster, and you need this. Well, it's kind of a similar thing, and I I never thought of it. Now, some of what you said, I think, is illegal now. I don't know how far the laws have gone, but yeah, a lot of the quid pro quo, I believe there are laws in place. I don't know how deep they go. Like maybe the contests are still legal, but they can't get direct payoffs. But it is.
Well, I could only recommend Brain Candy as a movie to see this weekend for someone who hasn't seen the movie. It's done by Kids in the Hall, and it's a drug company like Pfizer. It's a comedy. It's really over the top, and they treat it like a record company where they have to have #1 hits, and they have like a Billboard magazine of like the music magazines, but they're for drugs. And all of the executives, it's kind of like a record company, and they're coming out with a new drug. And I highly recommend Brain Candy if you've never seen it as a film. It is so spot on, so ahead of its time, completely over the top comedy by the legendary Kids in the Hall out of Canada. But a great pick for this weekend.
You had another pick too, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Dear Comrades, 2020 by a Russian director. A masterpiece. It's absolutely a masterpiece of camera work. It's in black and white. It was made in 2020. It is about a true event in the Soviet Union where these factories went on strike in a town. Here's a cover of the movie poster. Award-winning film by their Steven Spielberg of Russia. Just an absolutely fascinating film that has echoes of January 6th. It was 1962 is when this takes place. And I don't want to give it away, but it's a factory that goes on strike in the Soviet Union in a town, and how the Soviets respond to it. And you will see a lot of January 6th in this movie. Came out the same year as January 6th, but obviously, too close to it to be of influence. Dear Comrades is a masterpiece of Russian cinema. This is a guy who actually worked in American films. I didn't even know about it. He did Tango and Cash. He did Runaway Train back in the day. He made American films, but he is really the Spielberg of Russia. And he's in his very famous family. It's just a crazy family. His father was like one of the most famous poets in the Soviet Union. His grandfather, the family goes all the way back in Soviet history and Russian history. And he's like 87 years old. The guy who made this, they all lived to be 99. His father just died like 2 minutes ago at like 96. Anyway, so really, if you want to see a movie that is riveting, please watch Dear Comrades, not to be confused with Dear Comrade, which is another movie entirely. This is Dear Comrades with an exclamation point at the end, probably because of that other movie from 2019. But another movie, which is more domestic, is a movie called Body Brokers, I was telling Eric about, which is kind of a boiler room movie starring Jack Kilmer, Val Kilmer's son. And it shows the entire high-end rehab industry that I've talked about on this show that I used to cover for the LA Weekly and the book that I wrote, Rehab Nation. It shows the entire scam from the inside. This is a very interesting crime movie in dealing with body brokering, which is paying people to go to rehab, which I've talked about before, and Dr. Drew and I have talked about. Body Brokers starring Jack Kilmer is a great film for you to watch. I think it's about 2 years old also. I think it's on Prime, by the way.
All right. And yeah, it is on Prime because I queued it up.
Okay.
To quickly change gears, we pulled a lot of stories.
Okay.
For this. And we pull a lot of stories on Friday.
Yeah.
In order to have the energy to pull these stories like we are,
yeah,
it's a good idea to get some coffee.
Oh yeah, I got to get some coffee.
And the best coffee, in my opinion, which is absolute proven stated fact, is America's Untold Stories Supreme Breakfast Blend, which has two kinds of beans. You have, and I have to zoom in because it's hard for me to read, I'm getting old, a combination of organically grown Sumatra Mandolin and Mexico Chiapas coffee beans. Now, the Sumatra is an older process, kind of ancient, kind of like my show partner. So a little older, a little grumpier, a little rougher around the edges. And then you have the newer, the fresher, the Mexico Chiapas coffee beans, which are just fresh and fun and definitely delightful. So I recommend, seriously, check it out. As I famously say, I drink this without cream. Any other coffee, I need cream. This coffee, I don't need cream because it's not burnt like Starbucks and the others. The cream kind of tones down on the burning of a coffee. And I hope you guys check it out.
I have to switch back to that. That's which blend is that?
That's
the breakfast blend. The breakfast blend. Yeah.
Yep. It's a good universal blend for, everybody and everything. It's run by it's a veteran owned company, and I hope you consider checking it out. Now, our next story, since we're, having so much fun, we just talked about Cuomo. Things aren't going great since he's left. Migrants are flooding New York City's justice system.
Can you believe
this
these numbers?
Is staggering. 75% of all arrests.
Yeah. They can't believe their luck that they're in a lawless society that's filled with money. I mean, look at it from their point of view. They're coming from Caracas. It's a completely bankrupt culture. The country is falling apart. It's complete crime culture.
Mm-hmm.
And they show up in an incredibly wealthy country, and there's no police. I mean, there's no
what could be
police.
better?
Yeah, I mean, there's police in name, but compared to where they came from, I mean, it's like a policeless society with tons of money.
It's like where they came from before they ran it to shit.
But no, even at its peak, it was never the equivalent of
that's true.
I mean, come on, Eric.
True.
I mean, think about these people who have come here. Every repressed society, and I've said this for many years, whether you're blacks in America or Russians in the collapse of the Soviet Union or Venezuela, every repressed society, when the jackboot, and this is also true of the Cubans when they came to Miami, when the jackboot of repression is lifted from your neck, you go crazy criminally. And you could, and it's not about race, it's not about anything, it's just about the culture of repression. When that jackboot is lifted off of you for whatever reason, civil war, intervention, fleeing it, they turn to crime because of the incredible release that they have now, not having authoritarian jackboots on their neck. When the Soviets collapsed, the Russians went berserk. When Cuba collapsed and the Cubans came to Miami, they became Scarface, Al Capone.
Well, some of it too, okay, like to push back a little bit, when Soviet collapsed, they needed food and everything else. Where did they turn to?
Yeah,
the black market.
No, I'm not right. I agree with you, but they will immediately go to crime.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what these Venezuelans are doing. They're now in another culture that doesn't seem to be as authoritarian as having Maduro, who just had his plane seized and an arrest warrant put out for his opponent, crazily enough. And now they've come here and they can't believe how wide open.
Warrant for his opponent. That never happens.
Right. They can't believe their luck that they're in a society in New York that has just everything right there. All you got to do is take it. There's no jail. There's no bail. There's no whale. Just a lot of kale, and they're just plucking it out of the fields, and it's just a poet. Thank you. It's just a free trip right now.
All right. Well, you know what's not a free trip?
What?
The poor astronauts that are stranded because of Starliner.
Oh, I didn't understand that. That's why they're up there.
Yes, they went, for like a normal. It's like Gilligan's Island in space. They went out for an 8-day deal, but there's something wrong with the ship, and Boeing's like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And apparently, Boeing execs and NASA were having heated arguments about bringing them back, and NASA's like, no. If something goes wrong here, it's not going to be Boeing that is known for it. It's going to be NASA that is known for this. And so these two guys are stranded there. But here's where it gets weirder. I saw this earlier today. So now imagine you're in space and you get to hear this.
Line and CST, if you want to give us a call.
Okay, I'm in Starliner, and how do you read?
5x5, how many?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm gonna key the mic up next to the speaker.
Copy.
Hear that?
At negative, Butch, we did not hear anything.
What the fuck?
All right, Butch, that one came through. It was kind of like a pulsing noise, almost like a sonar ping.
Yeah, I'll do it one more time, and I'll let y'all scratch your heads and see if you can figure out what's going on. Here we go.
Holy shit.
That is not what I would personally want to be hearing if I was
24/7, Eric. Just like that
in
sound.
the middle of space. Yeah, but like,
Wow.
what the hell's going on? And then,
Wow. Wow.
that is some creepy stuff.
Wow. You know, it was a similar, it just reminded me of the Challenger when they wanted to get off the runway, the pad, and they were forced by people in the Reagan administration to get up in space because he had prepared a speech about Sally Ride and he was going on TV. All kinds of controversy erupted at that time because they apparently were in a fight with NASA that kept delaying the takeoff. And they just kept yelling at them saying, we need this thing to take off. And the tiles began to fly off of the ship and they weren't heat ready to, and I'm just paraphrasing because the situation was that they were screaming at NASA because Reagan was going on national TV to talk about the first teacher in space. And there was a lot of pressure on NASA to launch. And that was a scandal that they tried to cover up. I don't know how successfully they did, since they had the telephone records. The senator, Democratic senator from North Carolina at the time, stood up on the floor of the Senate with the phone records and said, I have the records of the phone calls, hundreds, from the White House to NASA, because they denied that they were talking to them. And there were hundreds of phone calls, minute after minute after minute. And I remember that scandal. And it was like, holy crap. They just blew this thing up for political reasons by accident.
And it was even worse because the Streisand, because they made such a big deal. It had to be the speech.
Yeah.
And then that seared everybody because here he's given a speech and then boom. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. It was dark, bro. It was dark.
Well, those are dark days for
for
all of American engineering.
Yes.
You know, not just space, but remember, cars were shit. They were garbage in the 70s, 80s.
Yep.
I mean, it's taken a while for, American built to come back out at all. But, it's bad times. But you know what? Speaking of that, we have Trump who's offering to give Elon Musk a role in auditing.
Is that a quid pro quo? Is he going to be indicted for this one too?
No, who knows? But I still like Elon doing a Doge, like the Dogecoin, Department of Government Efficiency.
Well, to be honest with you, it's a perfect job for him to come in as the Grim Reaper and begin to savage and hack apart some of these agencies. I mean, it may be the greatest thing ever happened to this nation. If he could go in there and savage it and just say, these people got to go.
Yeah, well, there's an example of it that's been done.
Ministerio de Turismo y Deporte, afuera.
He also did it.
Deporte, afuera. Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de...
Well, Musk also famously did it in San Francisco when he took over Twitter, Eric. So, I mean, he
does that. Yeah, no. He does it to, as he puts it, he cuts, I think, to where it hurts plus 10% or something like that.
Yeah. And surprisingly, the company was able to run with 70% less people, which sounds insane, but it really wasn't a company. It was really, I've always said, an NGO, a political NGO from the left. It wasn't a real company. It was an NGO.
Yeah, kind of like Vice.
Yeah, kind of like Vice. Yeah, but bigger than Vice. I mean, there were times when Vice went into North Korea, and it was just a spy operation with cameras and boom mics.
True. We got somebody in the audience who has Doge.
Okay.
I think I had Doge too. I think it was worth a nickel or something. It was some crazy amount. All right, let's get through some super chats while we're talking about money. Pamela Clifton with $1. Thank you. Joseph Kane. This is a new one. Giving Tim America's Untold Stories memberships away. Thank you, Joseph.
Tim Kaine's brother.
Don't harm him. He's our friend. This is our friend. Don't insult our friend. And Pew Pew's back, giving 20 America's Untold Stories memberships. So
That
thank you.
goes
Pew
right
Pew.
into the chat. I saw that last week. That I saw the chat getting them.
Right now, one thing that I've been corrected on vociferously because I didn't really know, is that when Pew Pew buys memberships to gift to people, Pew Pew has no control. I have no control. You have no control. YouTube randomly assigns a membership to somebody. And I do think that if you are in the chat now, I think you have to check off that you're willing to accept gifts.
Weird. Okay.
Or you're not able to
Check away over
receive
there,
it.
people. Come on, start checking.
Yeah, because I mean, these guys are giving out memberships like crazy,
but it goes in the
really
live
appreciate
chat, right? Not
yes, it's people who are watching live.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
it's
want-
not after
because
the
people
fact.
are saying, "I want a membership. I'm unemployed.
I know.
I lost my legs in a car accident. Why can't I have a membership? You know, what's with you people?"
Yeah, it's beyond our control. It
Okay.
really is. But
That's a fair answer. That's a
we
fair
do
answer.
appreciate it. Carl Burkhalter throwing a fit about Arlington after they ripped out a war memorial by a Jewish Confederate veteran, and hypocrisy on steroids.
Interesting.
Yes, yeah. Sean Lucan with 10 memberships.
Now, 10 people in the chat right now will get them, or when does that?
Or I've
happen?
already got them.
Already got them. Okay, right.
I think when they do it, it just assigns, but I don't.
It's like an algorithm that just hits you.
Right, but do remember to check off that you can receive gifts. I think
Right.
that is a factor.
Right.
Pew Pew, 10 more memberships.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Pew Pew. So freaking generous.
Alexa, why does Pew Pew do this, Alexa? Pew Pew does this to help people in the chat. He is really a nice guy. Stick with Pew Pew.
Pew Pew. He's a rock star from Norway. Ginny's getting inky with it. The Walsh movie is mostly trolly. It's worth watching to see his interaction with Robin DiAngelo, though. Had her pay reparations to his camera guy.
Interesting.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis says, you guys need to investigate the O-Man from Hawaii. Oh,
Who's the O-Man?
The O-Man from Hawaii. You need to watch Family of CIA.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the playlist.
Dude, I think I covered him pretty deeply.
Yeah, I think you will be very entertained with the coverage.
That's about as much as I can come up with on the face of the earth at that point about the O-Man from Hawaii. So you may want to look at that episode because the bulk of it is about the O-Man. Not all of it, but the bulk of it.
Definitely is. And let me see here. It's kind of funny how time is going around and around. We were just talking about the Venezuelan invasion and things like this. Remember before Giuliani, really started to crack down and clean it up?
Yeah.
The first thing they went after were fare evasion.
Oh, yeah. And
Well,
broken
guess
windows,
what?
too.
It's now 48% of bus riders failing to pay. So it's like, it's not repeating itself, but damn sure is rhyming. And I'd say this is repeating itself. It's like, why do you let yourself run down to a pile of garbage before you start to finally do something?
Somebody said that they have Republican rule, they clean it up, then the Democrats vote for themselves again, and this whole cycle repeats itself. Oh, especially in New York, over and over and over again. This has happened repeatedly, where Giuliani has come in or Bloomberg, and they've cleaned up the city, and then they go, "Oh, it's okay again. We could vote for a Democrat," and then the same thing happens again. Adams is David Dinkins on steroids. I mean, this exact repeat of the Dinkins era with Giuliani. One of my favorite things is my friend did a documentary on 9/11 in New York, and he was going around. He was Jewish, and he was going around asking them how they felt about 9/11. It was kind of like October 7th, and these guys on the street were telling him the Jews did it. And he said, the Jews did 9/11? He said, yeah. he says, "Look who's the mayor." He goes, "The mayor's not a Jew." He goes, "Are you kidding? His name is Giuliani."
No,
and it's the best part of the movie. It's so funny and insane, and then it's right in the front of the movie.
Oh my God! All right,
Giuliani.
Well, while we're talking about comedy, you sent me this article earlier.
What does that
say? That Woody Allen's Bananas comes to life.
God
Venezuela's dictator
Yeah.
Maduro proclaims October 1st is the new Christmas.
It's so similar to Bananas by Woody Allen with the dictator. Everybody's citing this thing. I was not the only one. This is being pointed out. I don't know if you can run that little clip of the dictator.
I will. Hopefully, we don't get.
That's okay.
Yeah, I want to break it up because we get claimed on anything.
Okay, all right.
Crazy.
Well, don't worry about it. I mean, it's just so funny that he's decided that Christmas is now October 30th. This dictator says that men will now have to wear their underwear on the outside
From this
of
day
their
on,
pants.
the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour.
I like that he has a solution for the problematic nature of changing every half hour.
Underwear will be worn on the outside,
So we can check. Dude, I mean, it's just brilliant. But Maduro is up the ante. I mean, he must have seen the movie. I mean, maybe he wants to outdo Woody Allen and Bananas, which opens up famously with Howard Cosell on the steps of the Capitol, where there is an assassination attempt on the dictator who's killed, and he's dying on the steps. And Cosell treats it as a boxing match. The dictator is down. He's clearly almost. Let's see if we can get a word in here. Howard Cosell, ABC Sports, and he gets like the dying words of the dictator. And then he goes, and here's the new dictator. Let's see if we can get a word with the champion. And he goes over to the next dictator who's over on the steps.
Well, that is funny.
One of the great movies of all time, Bananas. Highly recommended.
By the way, speaking of artistry, I did brag earlier that I really liked today's thumbnail. And
Okay.
I did like today's thumbnail. I think
Okay.
that's
Wow.
a work of art.
Wow.
But I had an alternative one I almost ran that I think is
Wow.
also very
Well, you
good.
save that for Friday. That's still good.
Maybe.
Yeah, use it for Friday. I mean, what the fuck? We're still going to be talking about this crazy bitch.
Oh God!
You know what's so weird? I was listening to Bongino this morning. He was talking about how candidates embrace and press the flesh. Like they're the number one advocates of their own campaign. Is the candidate, not a surrogate, not the husband, not the party. It's always the candidate who is what you're selling. And in this case, it's what they're hiding. They're literally hiding the product because the product is unsellable by herself. In other words, what Bongino was saying is she's her worst campaigner. So others have to be surrogates and she cannot be seen in public. It's really bizarre.
It is.
I mean, I had a fantasy the other night that she was in a room with 150 reporters yelling questions to her with microphones and cameras.
You mean like Biden? Like we just saw earlier with Biden, who just sat there frozen and
yes,
wandered on?
I had that fantasy that she would do that. And I know it sounds insane, but I can't even imagine it in my mind's eye now of her just up there in a raucous room, Eric. Just try to imagine this, a raucous, reporter, filled room, yelling questions, her picking out Jeff, Associated Press, what's your question at Debbie from New York Times. I can't see it, bro. I cannot visually see it.
No, she'd have Secret Service beating them down or something.
No. I'm saying I can't see it as a press event where it should be a standard multiple time event in a presidential campaign. Now I can't even imagine it in my eye, in my mind's eye.
No, I don't even know if she'd hold them. And there is a question. Do you think she's definitely going to debate?
Oh man, can I imagine that one? I can visualize because I've seen her debate By the way, Steve Cooley was on Newsmax the other night, he must have seen the show, because all of a sudden Steve Cooley's being asked the same questions that we asked him when he was on here about debating Kamala Harris. That's why I mentioned Steve Cooley. But yeah, I can imagine her on the stage. I can. However, that being said, Trump is going to be Trump in that debate, and he's going to be the same thing no matter what happens. I don't know what she's going to come out as, what version of herself. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a question. Do you think she might even back out of it? Because that interview,
it would be very difficult. I think it would be very difficult at this time.
I hope she's there. I hope Trump thrashes her. But on that note, we're going to take this conversation over to locals.
Okay, that's the way you're going to be.
That's the way we are going to be. Mark demands. He's like, I'm over it with the YouTube folks here. We're going to be on locals.
I hate these pieces of shit.
And by the way, Joseph Kane is definitely not related to Tim Kaine. He wants you to know.
You know, a lot of these people, like, didn't we have Ed McMahon's grandson on? Yeah. I mean, it seems to be some of these people are connected to famous people and then hide it and deny it because he's embarrassed that Tim Kaine is his father. It's okay. I don't mind it, but I mean, we got to be truth tellers here, Hunley.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
so yes, we do. We're going to head over to locals, unstructured.locals.com.
Okay, but we're going to be back here Friday, just so we know.
We are.
We're going to be back here Friday, and you know, all of our links are down below if you want to donate anything to me and Hunley. Hunley's trying to raise money to get more cat food for his cat that eats 17 pounds of food a day, one of the largest cats ever measured by the Guinness Book of World Records. And of course, I'm trying to get more Nixon books, and who knew there was so many fucking Nixon books? It's absolutely insane. So any help in that department would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Or just come over to locals and keep hanging out with us.
Over there.
You could be a member for free.
How do you like? You could talk about my new haircut I got yesterday by Christy of Beverly Hills, who apparently used to party with some pretty heavyweight people back in the day. She was telling us yesterday.
Very cool.
And don't forget Naked and Afraid. Just so you know, Naked and Afraid.
Naked and Afraid.